All right, Sherry, you are live. Have fun.
Hi, everybody. We are talking today about breast pumps, and I've talked to some people already today at the booth. I see a bunch of questions always when we talk about the breast pumps. Aloha, Heather. I hope that means you're from Hawaii because that's where I would love to be right now. I would love to make this as informal as possible. I want us to feel like we're all more connected and having a good discussion. So I can see your questions. I can respond. I changed how I'm doing this, and I need to fine tune it a little bit, but I am really having a good time with this particular platform and engaging today. So in the next 45 minutes, I'm going to do my best to cover the main pieces of how a pump works, the main topics, and I will do my best to get to your questions. If I don't get to your question, this chat roll goes pretty quickly, so please come and interact with me at the booth. I will be at the booth live tomorrow, drinking coffee, eating my snacks, and sending my emails, and you should just please come in and have a chat with me. We can go live together. Oh, I recognize some of you. That's awesome. And yes, you are about to have the double hurricane there in Texas and Louisiana. I was talking to some friends there today. It's 2020. But please come and chat. You can come and talk to me on camera, and I can look at what we're talking about. We can engage like that. We can have a private talk on Facebook where it's completely private if you feel the need. But I will be live in the booth most of the day tomorrow. I'm also presenting at a different conference. So there's a couple of blocks where I need to go over there. But I am really available here all the time to chat and be in the booth. And I'll just be sitting in there staffing it to answer all the questions you have. The first thing I'm going to say is it doesn't matter what kind of pump you have. And it doesn't matter what kind of equipment you have or support options or whatever. I'm here to try to help you. And as an ambassador of Tuff and the director of our sales and marketing department, I want you to know that we want you to have a good pumping experience because we feed our children like this. This isn't about disagreements between brands or not helping somebody because they don't have our stuff. There's certain things I can't do to support you if you have another pump because it's a medical device and you want somebody who can best support their pump. But there's a lot that we can do. So if you need help or you need support and you saw me here and we clicked in some way and you feel like you could talk to me, we staff our media, our social media around the clock. And in the middle of the night, it's almost always me there. So if you just need a hug and you're like, hey, I was at the Prego Expo and I'm struggling tonight, please just come talk. No matter what kind of a pump you have, our support options are largely for you. I am going to post links as best I can in here and then everywhere. And they're at my booth. We have free pumping classes for parents. And those are going to cover the details of what you're going to do when you're actually pumping. So once you've picked your pump, then how do you use your pump? That's the free, we call it Pump Like a Superhero. I would really encourage you to bring your partner to that and maybe in the same or different session also other people who are going to support your breastfeeding choices and talk to them about what you can do and how to get through this. You need a lot more support, and that's a different class topic than this one, but here's, that you need that. So sign up for the free parent Pump Like a Superhero class. It's given all the time. You can come a bunch of times, and I will post all the links to it because I can't talk and post at the same time. In here, this is a safe space. I call it a brave space, so there's no stupid questions. Please tell me whatever it is that you or have on your mind if you feel the need to do it in here, and we can also talk privately. But if somebody says something in here and you know them and they've got a question, this isn't the place to share that information with people you may know who also know someone, because in here there's probably people who are from the same town or potentially from the same place of employment. And I really want to stress that what we say in here needs to be treated with discretion, and we don't need to share that kind of stuff, okay? We want people to be able to get that information because this support is so vital for us moms. I mean, it really is. It can change your whole outlook of how you are as a mother, which with mental health issues already and then COVID, we all need that. So I've seen some questions already, and I'll work those into the presentation because they're all things we normally cover. So remind me at the end if I don't get to your question, but I've seen a bunch of them. This is our biggest breast pump that we personally make here at Tuff. It fits in your hand. It's called the Breeze. We have 3 pumps that are basically the same size that have different features. These pumps all have a very large motor inside, And our goal with our pumps is to make a pump that's going to last through 3 babies for you. The first thing that you want to think about when you're breastfeeding and picking a pump is, how are you going to use the pump? How many hours are you going to put on the pump? And I know that there's no way to tell. Many people who are exclusive pumpers and end up putting thousands of hours and buying 2 or 3 pumps never thought they'd exclusively pump, didn't want to do it, and just were forced into that position for various reasons. We try to make this pump, for those of you who have insurance plans that only pay for one for a lifetime, we try to make it durable for you. So the first question you should really ask is, the motor inside the breast pump, how many hours is it expected to last? The manufacturer of all the pumps should be able to tell you the expected life on the motor. For ours, it's over 2,000 hours. So we turn into the FDA the paperwork for 2,000 hours plus. We believe it's about 2,500 hours or more, which is enough for 3 babies for an average user, or maybe one exclusively pumping person or something. But it's a lot. We have a 2-year warranty to support that. Also know what the warranty on the pump that you're getting is and how to access it. The warranty for us is 2 years, but if you have need of other things and it's outside the warranty, we'll do our best to work with you. Be aware that when we talk about a 2,500 hour motor, the newest pumps on the market, the tinier they are especially, but not always, some of those pumps have motors that are expected to last only 250 hours. So that's a huge discrepancy in the number of hours your pump is expected to last. So understand, especially if you're looking at wearables and they're really expensive, how many hours are you going to be able to put on that, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All of our pumps are available through insurance. So if you have insurance that pays for a pump, we can probably bill it. There may be a few exceptions. And there's some insurances that either don't cover pumps or they make you get a certain pump because they have an arrangement and we can't work with that. But I'd say for 90% of the time, if you have insurance, it works. We can do it. And I will post the link for that. You're basically going to get from any breast pump you get, and we're going to leave the wearables out. So the Willow and LV are going to go to a different discussion, and you're going to need to talk to them. There's differences among those 2 brands. We do offer repairs, replacement parts, all those things. The pump unit you're going to get, ours is about this size or less. We have 2 that are even smaller that are like this. So we're, in the small category. You can compare the size of the pump, and that's definitely a factor for a lot of people in just, where you're going to be hauling the pump. It's also, I saw somebody talking to Deb about, they have a Symphony and it's portable. They have a battery. It's holding up my computer right now. I'll show you mine. But this is the battery I take to shows, and you can see it has a plug at one end. That will run my whole trade show booth for, depending on the length of the trade show, several days. So it runs the breast pumps all during the day for quite a while. Sorry, I'm fixing my laptop again. My battery's doing double diligence there. But it will run a whole bunch of devices, and there is availability of those for less expensive than you would think. That one was about $100, and you could run multiple phones, a laptop, a whole bunch of stuff off of it. Those of you who are looking at hurricanes, pumps like this that don't have the option to be recharged, I think those are going to be, you're going to have some way to recharge it. So you're going to want to get a battery like that to recharge it. If it doesn't, because pumps like this, you can't put in other batteries. So it's more budget friendly to get a pump like this with just the AA batteries if you're not using those AA batteries all the time. And you really need to think about what you're going to do in case of a hurricane or something, because you can't really recharge the batteries on a rechargeable pump in that case. So you might still need another option. Rechargeables, you just plug them in, you recharge them, you can use them for a couple of days, recharge them again. And it's a life-saving thing for a lot of people. Just know that, like, I live in Arizona. If I leave this in my car for a day, the battery will be no more. So you have to be sure that you're going to be able to take care of the battery and it's going to actually work. Getting a manual pump is extremely important, and we'll cover that in a second, but we include this with every single pump, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Because everybody needs a manual pump, period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the pump you get, no matter which brand you pick, is going to have a little motor, something like this. And you can decide, depending on your budget and what your insurance covers, which one you would like. Which one basically fits your needs. And you can decide if you need the rechargeable or not. Often, depending on the pump, the rechargeable may bring the price of the pump up, so then you'd have less other features, like the motor life wouldn't be so much. Or maybe like there's a few pumps that have a rechargeable battery, and so the pump lasts and it's quiet and it's small and it's nice, but the life of that pump is really going to be really pretty limited. So you're going to use that for a few months and it's going to be done. And then you could buy another one on Amazon. You could get another one. Maybe that's the extent of the breastfeeding journey that you see for yourself, which is totally fine. Pumping is a lot of work. It takes a lot to get through several months of pumping. So it's just going to depend on what your situation is there. But that's the one thing, is rechargeable or plug in. This pump for us plugs into the wall. You can plug it in, but it also works with USB. So we have the option where you can plug it in your computer or any kind of a USB. Aside from this pump, you can also get car adapters and other things. So that's the option there. I'm going to quickly talk about the manual pump because of the hurricane and other options, and it's just something I don't want to forget. All of our pumps come with this handle right here, which attaches to our kit, and they all come with this handle right here. I'm going to show you the other one because it's easier to demonstrate multiple things with it, and this would be the one that you would get if you bought the upgraded version. It comes with a remote handle with the tubing. So that way you can pump with your right hand down at your side, or other side you can use the same dominant hand to pump both breasts, but it also allows your partner to help you. So immediately after you have the baby, you're going to want to try to get milk out as soon as possible. And if you hold the baby and your partner works this, if you're comfortable with that, that's one option that would allow your partner to actually be the first one to feed the baby. This is called the Sweet Assist, and this one is called the Sweet Essence. And if you use the coupon that we have as part of the show, the We Heart RT Moms, it's 50% off on our site, and that makes this one, I think, about $15 or something. We try to make them pretty affordable. For those of you who haven't found a manual with a big enough flange, it is a serious issue. Our flanges are really pretty generous. So I don't know what size you are, Vanessa, but you can chat with me and I'll tell you, what this runs. This one would be about a 27 Medela if you've used other flanges in the past. We call it a 25, but it runs about a 26.5 Medela. But we have 15 flange sizes, and we'd be happy to include, when you order the pump, you could just order the flange that you need, and we can include that, with your order, so you wouldn't have to pay extra shipping or anything. Your pump is then going to, back to this, I'll show you. There's one really cool thing about this. So this pump, our manual pump has, and somebody asked about the Haka, and I've been asked a bunch of times, and I think it's fantastic. It's a great little tool, but it is not a breast pump. It is a breast milk collector. It does collect breast milk passively, but what it doesn't do is what this does. When you squeeze this pulls your nipple in and out. Okay, so your nipple is moving and it's doing this, which is required for better establishment of milk supply. Now, what the Haka does do is it can passively empty your breast. Draining your breast also helps your milk supply. Okay, so the Haka isn't going to hurt you in any way. I would say that different people have different results with it depending on how you're using it, the shape of your breast, what you're expecting it to do. And breast pumps, that does suction on and then hang there of its own device, but it also gets full of milk and you may need to support it. Like, it's not just going to stay there forever with it suctioned on. So be aware that also other breast pumps are not going to stay suctioned onto you, but like the Haka does. We have, I think, the best of both worlds with our manual pump, in that you have a vent option right here, which allows you to turn the vent. When you turn this knob this way, you're turning the vent on and off. So as you close the vent, it's going to work like a Haka. So every time, I will write the discount code for sure. Every time you do this, it's going to add suction here, and it's not venting off, so it's just adding suction. So imagine that you have the baby and you're going to be cuddling the baby, and your partner may be in the hospital, is going to be doing this. You've never pumped before. You don't know what it's going to feel like. So you have the advantage of hugging the baby and be like, oh, hi, baby, this is so amazing. And you can just let somebody else do this for a second. they can tease the nipple in by doing little baby times like this, but you're not giving the nipple back every time you let loose. What the electric pump is doing is it may tease the nipple in, and you may just be going like here, but it's going to let it go. Teases it in, lets it go. Teases it in, lets it go. Also, if you're really engorged and your tissue's tight here and full and swollen, the nipple can't really get free of that. The nipple's going to be attached to the tissue. It's hard to pull that nipple in. So you can tease it free like this, pull the nipple in and start to get milk out, and you can hold it in position. You have complete control of that process with this. So similar to a haka, but I believe better because of the advantage of pulling your nipple and the extra things, plus the advantage for later. So if, say you're using this a few months down the road and you wanted to, you're out and you just wanted to pump quickly, or you needed really quickly to empty your breast, there's 2 different suction levels. So you can see here it's on the bottom of these 2 settings. So see right here's one. This is also one. So you just pull this forward and you do that, and now you're in the top. So you're going to have less suction because you're moving this little diaphragm up less. So you're going to have less suction. So this would give you access. You still want to be able to pull this each time and let it go fully. Otherwise, you're going to get carpal tunnel here. This has a smaller hand size too, because most women's hands tend to be smaller than men's hands. And also there should just be a couple of different hand options for ergonomics and other things. So we include this free with every single pump because we believe everybody should have access to a manual pump. They're a lifesaver when you need them. But this you can also purchase, and you can purchase the other one on our site as well. They're both available, and I think they're really fabulous. I'm going to type the code in. And that'll give you 50% off your purchase. It's good for basically almost everything on the website. All the pumps, it makes this pump with the internal battery. This would be very similar to the Medela Symphony or the Spectra S1. It makes it $125 for cash on the site. But the hand pumps, that's my free tip and trick for you. But again, no matter which pump you have, it's going to have a little body of the pump, something like this, different sizes, shapes, colors, and your tubing is going to go in here, and your tubing is going to look something like this. Ours is silicone, and we have a really long set of tubing, so you have a lot of room in order to mess with things. But you're going to have some kind of an adapter. We only have one, and it goes in, and then the tubing comes out here. And then our tubing is split here, and see how it goes into 2 pieces. And to single pump, you would just push this in. You take this piece of tubing out, and you just put this little cap in, and then you would single pump here, okay? And your tubing is going to, I'm going to disconnect it, otherwise I'll launch stuff across my fancy mobile office, otherwise known as my kitchen table. And your tubing attaches on our pump right here. And that's fairly similar. The tubing sometimes has another portal that goes in. There's different places, but it attaches somewhere in this area of the pump to the tubing, and that's what delivers the vacuum to the pump. So it's basically like the tube on your vacuum. So far, basically the same thing. Once you have vacuum, I would say that there's very little reason at all to look for an open system pump if you can avoid it, because the open system has no barrier here to prevent your milk from going in the tubing and from going into the pump and from causing mold and other things. So when you take our pump apart, you have the diaphragm here, which is silicone, and it sticks in this cap so you don't lose it. But then in order to put it together, you have to take this cap back out and attach it right here to this part. And if you see the hole right there, that's where the suction, once this is going to go on here. And the Spectra has one that sits back here. There's a whole bunch of different like looking UFO devices for this. They're all accomplishing the basic same thing. I like ours because it's real thick, and you're probably not going to need to replace this unless you're pumping for more than one baby. It's really thick and it shouldn't be very replaceable or have to be replaced. This cap goes on and holds that in place. And then that cap, as the vacuum comes in and pumps in, release, that little diaphragm is going to go up and down here. Okay. And then when it goes up, it pulls the suction because your breast is basically stuck here, and your valve down here. See that? I unscrewed this. This is the part that connects your bottle, but I unscrewed it higher so you could see the valve better. But this valve part right here, this little membrane flap right here, has to stay shut when you're having the vacuum come in. So this little flap guy stays shut when he's in there, and he's going to stay nice and tight and shut. The vacuum is going to pull here. This guy's going to stay shut, and the vacuum has nowhere to go but to pull your nipple in here. And if you saw the hole when I had this off, that's where our suction comes in, and all pumps are a little bit different. I'm going to type it in again because I may have done. There you go. Anyway, when that happens, then your breast is going to move. And the idea of it is for your nipple to move from basically a resting state of about right here. And your nipple is going to come back, and it's going to move back and forth. My finger doesn't have the ability to move without my hand moving. But what you'd want is your breast to sit here and not get sucked in, and only your nipple to move. Okay? So back to this guy, because he is your most valuable boy. My daughter calls everything a man's or a boy lately, so I'm stuck on that. This guy needs replaced. You have two of them. There's one in each side. And for our pump, if you're using it on high suction, using it daily several times a day, you'd replace this about once a month, both of these. There's an extra set in your kit, so you won't have to go buy them until you've used the first one, and then you can buy more. But you should always have a stash of these on hand, because with any pump, they're going to wear out. We actually do sell both types, and I do have them both in my demo set, and some of them look like this, and they are what's called a duckbill valve, and they work. The milk comes out, this opens up when the cycle is released, the vacuum gets released. When the vacuum's being pulled, this should stay really tight. And see how, I'm going to hold this really close up, and hopefully you can see, I think that's a decent picture. See how his lips aren't quite shut? This valve is starting to lose suction. It's getting worn, and your suction is starting to decrease. Much more than this, you'll see a marked drop in suction. The industry went away from this style of valve because it's really subjective and hard to see when they're too worn. But many people like this style of valve better. I personally really like it because I think you get higher suction. I like the way the cycle works with the lip valve, but a lot of people really prefer the membrane too. So we sell both. If you want to replace your valves with one or the other, we sell both. And there's a really nerdy valve article in our Pump Talk section of our website about the two types of valves and how they work differently, okay? I think with many different pumps, you could actually find both types, but a lot of times it's an aftermarket product, and then you don't really know how much suction your pump is doing compared to what it should be doing, because you don't have the valve that the manufacturer sold with it. And with that, I'm going to say that you should not hack your breast pump. And by hacking your breast pump, I don't mean if your breast pump comes apart like this here, that you shouldn't be able to get different sizes for it here, okay? Or if your breast pump is like the Spectra where there's a bigger piece and it comes here, okay. But you shouldn't change what is happening here, because we saw the hole, and this is where my pump comes in, and the vacuum is hanging out in this part of the pump. And if your nipple is all the way back here, and for some reason you change what's going on with your pump, and you obstruct this little hole right here because your nipple's bottoming out. I'm going to try to have you see it. I don't know if I can get the angle. It's hard to see, but maybe you can see it. It's right there. But if you have nipple tissue that plugs that, it's like all of a sudden what's going to happen is you're going to eventually move it, but the vacuum on the pump has still been accumulating. So in the tube, there's a massive amount of vacuum. It's sort of like if you block the end of your vacuum and you're trying to suck up something around the house, all of a sudden you get a big intake. Well, your nipple is going to be at the end of that. That's not kind. You're not going to want that. That's owie. So don't do that. And I really think that we need to demand better things as women and moms and parents and consumers. So if your breast pump doesn't make the flanges you need, and if they don't make the parts that you need to pump, demand that they do that. Don't hack it, and don't use like a Medela kit on a Spectra pump, because it turns it into an open system pump. Suddenly milk's going in your Spectra. The Spectra never intended for you to get milk there. And I know why people are hacking. It's because they don't have access to what they need. I get you. But it doesn't make it right, and it's perpetuating a manufacturer being able to not make all the sizes needed to fit everybody. I mean, then that pump should come with the warning, we only fit shoe size 6 to 8. If you have a size 9, 10 foot or a size 5 foot, we don't work for you. But they don't tell you that very clearly, and so I think that you need to know. And that brings me to my next thing, which is flanges. So everybody should measure your nipples while you're pregnant each and every time, because they can change. I'm going to post the link right now in here because it's so important. And this is the link for sizing your flanges. What you're going to do is you're going to measure your nipple straight across. Your nipple is what goes in this piece right here. And you can see, I'll show a couple different sizes. We have 15 different sizes and 2 different styles. You saw this style here before, and then we also have the straight kind. So you can see the difference in nipple size right here. And this isn't the biggest and this isn't the smallest that we carry, but they were handy to me. This part here, on our pumps, you should size so that this is just outside the size of your nipple. So if your nipple measures 12 millimeters across, you're going to want to get the 13 millimeter flange from us, whereas you might need the 15 millimeter flange from Spectrum. And we all measure things a little differently. Keep in mind, it's just like shoes. No matter what brand of shoes you get, you may need a wide or a different size or half size different, depending on the brand of shoe you're getting. These are no different. And I also think that, like, if you only need if you can wear like an Old Navy size, one size fits all, what does that mean? It means maybe you're, I don't know, an Old Navy mantra, you maybe wear what, a size 12 to 16 or something. I mean, I don't wear that one size fits all. I'm a big girl. I don't fit in that. My mom's a super tiny person. She does not wear that size. So the flanges that come with your breast pump that fit the nipples here, your nipples would be between 20 and 25 millimeters approximately. Now, if your nipples when you're pregnant are not 20 to 25, you should talk to me or talk to someone else and get a breast pump that makes the flanges in the range you will need. Because today, sitting here pregnant, I'm not going to know, and you're not going to know what's going to happen to your breast tissue while you're pregnant, but you're going to need to be in the range. So if you know you're going to need an itty bitty like this and your breast pump doesn't make that size, don't get that breast pump. Get a pump that actually makes this size. Because if you want insurance to reimburse you, you can't go to Amazon and buy aftermarket. You're going to want somebody that stocks that with your DME. And I can, for my pump, I have DME partners that, you know, give all the extra flanges you're going to need and stuff for free. That's a huge benefit to you. So measure now. And if you're not in the 20 to 25 millimeter range, talk to me, talk to someone else, and talk to someone who knows about flange sizing, especially for high suction pumps. Because I think we're mostly moving past the low suction pumps, okay? There's some piston pumps that are low suction, but I think generally most pumps, the trend is toward high suction. You can measure your nipples anytime. They're not going to change a whole ton. Maybe a size or two, but you're going to have a really good idea if you're in the range of the one size fits all, or if you're going to need a different size for sure. And if you're going to need a really different size and you're also anticipating some other issues, then you may want to get, like, these are more expensive. So these are $20 for a set versus maybe 10 or 12 for a set like this. But these are more forgiving. So you're going to get maybe 5 sizes out of this, whereas you're going to get 2 sizes out of this. And if you have 2 different size nipples, maybe you'll be so lucky as they both can use these and you won't have to buy 2 sets. It'd be the same cost as buying 2 sets of these, although you'd have some extra parts here. But these also are going to last a little longer. And I'm happy to talk all the details with you, you know, with your different nipple sizes, and different nipples are different on different sides of your body. It's not uncommon at all to have a one size and another size. I think it's one of the many reasons why slacker boobs exist, and we think that we don't have it. We ship the next day, and your breast pump from insurance will ship when your insurance authorizes it. We get it all going for you and work with different companies that bill your insurance, and then it's up to your insurance what has to happen after that. And I can tell you, you know, more things about that. Then once you have your flange size down, and really truly that's the biggest part of the beginning of this for you, you need to also be thinking about, where are you going to pump? Most of us will be pumping somewhere where you can use an electric plug-in a good deal of the time. And I think we all really, I just was in a group and there was a bunch of doctors posting about doing surgery while pumping with some of the wearables and things. And there's some fantastic options if we do that, if you need that. For the most of us, we don't need to pump while walking around and doing things, although it's handy to be able to move and chase a toddler and everything else. Anything wearable that you put in your bra and it stays in there while you pump, like the Free Me, any of the rounded cups that sit in your bra and do not work generally like this. They have a narrow flange size. So the flange range that they fit is generally not much different than what comes with the insurance pumps. Okay. So if you know that you're in a 20 to 25, and let's talk just a second, my breasts, and we all know this, we all buy bikinis and we don't all buy the same ones. Okay. So if the Spectra worked for one friend, the Medela worked for another, and they both hate the other one, you're confused. It's really the issue that when we talk about fun, sexy time toys, we talk a lot about those. There's parties, they come to your house. I went to a couple during even COVID online and learned a whole ton about vibrating versus not vibrating and this size versus that size. But yet we didn't know in this meeting, most of you had no idea that your nipples were not all this size, right? Whether your pump should have a vibrating aspect to it, it can be very soothing for some people. It can also distract some people from the sensation of a high suction pump. And the Spectra does that, for example. The new Medela pump and style, I believe, is saying that they have something like that, but I haven't actually seen the pump yet. So there's a vibration that you may find nice. I don't know if you know that right now, if you need that. It's hard to say before you start pumping because you can't really simulate the feeling of what your pump is doing. If you have a lot of time, go buy a manual pump and then, use your manual pump and see what that's like for you. And then you'd have the ability to work with your manual pump a little bit and learn something, okay? But I would say if you are the type of person who pierces your nipples, and somebody asked about piercing with your rings in, no, you can't you can't pump or breastfeed with the rings in, but you just take them out, and it's fun. Milk does come out the holes on the side. But there's really no other special things there. You just have to take the rings out or the piercings out. But if your nipples are pierced, you have a certain threshold where you find sensation comforting or comfortable or interesting and exciting for fun, sexy times. There's, on the other end of the spectrum, probably an equal number of people who would never pierce their nipples. And yet when we ask people for the information about what your pump should be like for all of us, we never say, well, did you pierce your nipples or not? If you have pierced your nipples, I will tell you that you would want to gravitate toward the high suction pumps, and you may also need to look at the highest level of suction pumps for a couple of reasons. If your tissue is also really elastic, what could happen is that you're pumping, and like if you're like me, I have larger breasts, and so I've gained and lost weight throughout my life. When I was younger, my breast tissue was much more firm and less stretchy than it is as my elderly status now, obviously. But a lot of people might need to use something like this. This is the wrong size, but you might need to use something like this where you're actually extending the tunnel so that you have room for your stretchy tissue to not bottom out. Also, if you've pierced your nipples, you've lost a little bit of sensation there, or you like more sensation and your brain needs more sensation to find it interesting. And so you're going to want more suction so that you have more stimulation here. What suction does is it doesn't pull the milk out of your breast any faster or better than anything else. Your milk is ejected out of your breast through something called the milk ejection reflex, and that's yours. It's how your brain works with your body. You have a hormonal reaction, which for most of us is sweet baby, lovely baby. Baby makes me want to feel like cuddling and crying and happiness and rainbows. Breast pump is plastic and horrible and nasty. Baby, I let the milk down. It's why exclusive pumping can be so difficult and traumatizing and just horrible, because you don't have the baby at your breast. Your baby is also not providing any biofeedback to you through the breast with its mouth. Your breast is absorbing saliva. They're absorbing from you. You're talking to each other. There's a whole dance that goes with moms and babies. It's magical. If you're pumping, it's not there. It ain't there. So you may need to have more stimulation if you've pierced your nipples there to make your breasts perk up and say, hey, it's time to make the milk. Whereas people who would never pierce their nipples, and nobody's wrong here, we're all valid, okay? But somebody else may not need that stimulation at all. That's why if you watch the video that's at our booth, when I'm not there, and I'll post the link now, if you watch it, it's why we are not only high suction, but it's why we include such a range of suction in the pump. And so if you know that you're at one end of the spectrum, so those of you who pierce your nipples, go for high suction and you won't go wrong. That's probably a good thing. However, I will tell you, watch for the waveform and watch this video so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's in our pumps how we take your breast in, and the nipple comes in and we hold it there. So the nipple's going to come in, and you can see this is just about as tiny as my little finger. So the nipple's going to come in, it's going to hold there for a second, and then it's going to come out. On some pumps, it's just going to go like this, or it'll take, I need a bigger one because I'm not gifted enough to demonstrate with that tiny boy. So this is going to pull it in and hold it for a second and release it. On other pumps, you may watch them just barely creeping in, it barely gets in, and just lets go. And then it barely creeps in and lets it go. So the amount of suction that's actually happening with your particular breast is not going to be the same as anyone else. And for those of you with breast sizes, I have about a D cup, and I was much larger when I was pregnant and nursing. It doesn't affect this at all. This, you could have teeny tiny nipples and giant breasts. You could have giant nipples and teeny breasts. There's no correlation whatsoever. But you then will need, if you have very large breasts, to worry about how you're going to support them. And here's where, generally bigger breasts go with a lot of times people like me who have more tummy action as well. So you need to put something like this just so you can accommodate the tummy. And also keep in mind, you need to talk to people who have the pump that you're thinking of getting and say, hey, do you need to lean forward when you use it a little bit? If you do, and you have a tummy and you're looking down at that, what is it going to do with all this? It's going to make it harder for you to pump. And you're going to need to, like I talked to a mom this morning, who had it tilted like this so she could fit everything in and kind of hold it. And she was exhausted pumping. Okay. So it's not that nothing doesn't work as well or works better, because we're all individual people. We do not, and I say this 100 times, we do not wear the same bra. We don't date the same men. We don't drive the same car. This is more individual than that. This really is akin to really more as specific as you are with like picking a doctor or like your dietary restrictions or likes or wants, who you date, who you find, who you would marry, that kind of thing. It's very specific to you. So there's no rules. It's you. And I hope in this class to really give you, I try to give you a bunch of things to think about, and then I'm happy I'm at the booth live all day tomorrow and the next day, whatever this is still open, and on Facebook all the time to give you more information with your specific questions. You can tell me, hey, I pierced my nipples, I'm thinking this. Okay, that we can move down a path. But before I know what you're talking about, I don't know what to tell you. But for larger breasts, these are nice because they can give you some support under here. You can also turn these around and they help to get clogs out. If you're plagued with clogs, you may want to invest in these, even though this is really small for you. You pull it back like the haka and you put it on, but you can apply it in a way where the clog is the one lining up straight. And I will say for bigger breasted moms, you're really fighting the battle of keeping all this goodness, boobage here. You're trying to keep it lined up straight so that it can be emptied well. Okay. So if that's hard for you, then you need to think about, okay, what am I going to have to do that? Look at the things you're going to use for a hands-free bra option. And this is why you pick your pump early and know what you have. And then you know how this all looks and what kind of bra openings this fits with. And then you know what kind of to get. I would say the bigger the breast, the less that sports bra hack works for you because it's not supportive enough. Like, I mean, I don't go jogging with my boobage in a little tiny sports bra and think my boobs aren't going to be. Okay, so think about that and say, how supportive is a sports bra for you? And they make some really great supportive options for bigger breasts. So we've talked about how the pump works. We talked a little bit, and you should really look at different, if you can see demos or see, you should really see about how the breast is moving here. Because this is really where the pumps all are a little different, and they're all a little more individual. Okay. But you're also, so you want to think about the motor strength, and that's going to determine how fast your nipple is able to be pulled in. So again, even a pump that's not holding your nipple in way down here, if it's the Spectra, for example, it has a really good strong motor in it. It pulls your nipple in quickly. Your nipple is released quickly, but it also pulls it in quickly. Whereas some other pumps, some of the really small ones, they just drag and drag and drag to get to that 250 that everybody says is hospital grade. And then that's there. I would tell you that in testing pumps and talking about the pressure and the scientific of that, and when we test them in our lab, We have a block that goes into an exact point, and the block fits in like, say this was the point. I'm going to do it differently. Say this was the point. So say this was your, right, there's multiple ways to hook all these things up. Your insurance is not set up to allow you to be as selective, so you need to work with a DME that allows you to work with your insurance better. And that's where some of the biggest DMEs are the least flexible, because they just have a plan. Often small local people will give you much better situations. Faster is not better. What you want your breast to do is go in and sit there at the point where it's supposed to be, and that's where we measure the amount of suction. So when we talk about how much vacuum we're pulling, it's where we have a block with a pressure gauge like you can see in the video, and it's where that's making contact right there. Your breast is going to come into a different place than somebody else. Your right and left breast are going to come to slightly different places. To the question of is faster better, no, it's not. You want your nipple to come in and hang out down there for as long as possible, because when your nipple's at the stretched end mark is where the milk is coming out. That's where the most milk is being extracted. A DME is a medical supplier, durable medical equipment supplier, and that's who bills your insurance for the pump. We work with them. As the manufacturer, I am not a DME. I believe, and at Rumble Tuff, we all believe here that we don't want to compete with the people who are billing insurance. We want to provide the best equipment and then give them the choice to bill the insurance for the pumps that they find that are best. And I really think it's important to try to increase the innovation in this space, and that's an important thing. So we stick to the business of manufacturing pumps, not billing insurance for them. What else? Let's see. What other questions? I know I did not get to some. Oh, silicone inserts. Silicone inserts do not make it more comfortable for you to pump in the way that you would think. Many people think that they're going to deaden or make a massage in here. And I'll put this up. Our pump has a silicone cushion that's made for it, so it's going to be specific to it. But let me hold it up and see if I can get it to show. So can you see that there's that little bit of give right there that I'm pushing in? Now, some people are going to say it's a massaging silicone insert. How much massage can you get in like this amount of space that's there? I mean, that's not that much. I'm going to hold it, there you go. I mean, it's what, about, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch. When you do hands-on pumping and you feel what you need to do to massage your own breasts, your milk ducts in a big person like me are down under some fat and some boobage tissue. So they're down in the breast, and you're going to have to massage deeper to get to them. Some surface massaging is really like going to the massage now and say, you're such a sweet massage person, thank you for coming, versus that they do to get deep tissue. You're somewhere in between there. But these are not going to miraculously massage anything out. The things that I think can be useful for people who struggle with clogs or struggle to empty, they do make sort of vibrating massage toys that go in your bra. Some of them are warm and heat up. That could be useful, especially to getting a good letdown, because remember, you're wanting to release things and you're wanting to have a letdown, you're having the same hormonal reaction you would to having an orgasm. So unless you have an orgasm by walking into a pump closet at work and going 1, 2, 3, orgasm, and it's that easy for you, you're going to want to try to recreate the same type of things that you feel safe with at home. So you're going to want to feel safe and warm and cuddly and loving. You want to see your baby, you want to see your partner, okay? And so I think the massage, they make little massage things that go in. Those can be helpful at vibrating and getting the breast to release those clogs, especially if you're not pumping often enough at work, which is, yeah, that happens, okay? They also can heat up, and that can be useful. I work with moms who've lost a baby, and a lot of times I suggest a big Bucky pillow, you know, those ones you heat up in the microwave and they have buckwheat or whatever in there. You can hold something like that feels like your baby. It's a lot to lug to work, and I completely hear that. But a lot of times holding something warm that's maternal and you're holding it to yourself, remember, that's our biological norms. We hold our babies to us. I saw the mama gorilla who had her baby, and she was just holding her baby, and it was just so sweet. And I felt like crying because I was like, Mama, you have your baby. Because she had lost a baby before. And I was like, oh, her rainbow baby. And I think we all hold our babies like this. And so you need to create for you what brings you that feeling when you're pumping. And pay attention to what does it when you're nursing. I have like 1 minute to go, so I'm going to try to rush through this. What else I can go live in my booth like right now, so I can have the crew turn me live in my booth, and I will post everything there, but I don't want to make them late getting somebody else on the stage. So come to the booth and ask me questions. Let me just page up super quick. You can pick out your pump. You can get your pump through insurance pretty much any time, but whether they'll ship it to you or not is totally up to your insurance. The extra flange can fit in a hands-free bra, but you're going to have to talk to me about your specific bra situation, and I can give you tips. What else? I would say that when you get a breast pump from your insurance, you're going to want to get the best breast pump, and then get things like the Freemie cups afterwards once you know they work. You could borrow one from a friend if you really just didn't want to invest the money. You could buy some used or whatever you need to do, because you can sanitize those and see what they do. You don't have to save the milk. You know, you could just use them. So I feel like if you can get the very best piece like this for you that you can, with the best warranty, with the most flange sizes and everything else, I think that's your best bet. If you already have a breast pump and you don't have mine, I don't care. You can still talk to me. I'll answer your questions indefinitely. I want you to get support. And I think that's the crucial part that you're missing. And you should also investigate, when you're looking at the brands of breast pumps, not just what's worked for people, because a lot of the old timers who went before you, and by old timers, I mean 3 years ago, who went before you, learned this stuff through trial and error in mom pumping groups. It wasn't that the manufacturers were here with all kinds of free information. It's that they went online and helped each other, and that doesn't cut it anymore today. So look for a brand that makes you feel like you're valued and that you can come talk to them and you feel comfortable getting a hold of them when's right for you. Like if you're pumping at work and you have a day job, you're going to need to get a hold of somebody during the day. If you're pumping at night, you're going to have to get a hold of somebody who's there during the night. So find a situation that all told is going to work for you. There's no magic bullet. You could get a $20 pump from Bye Bye Baby that was horrible, and really, honestly, a horrible pump. And we could together probably make that work okay for you. I'm not going to say great, but it would work out because you could get expert help. Okay. So to everyone who's here, thank you guys so much. Please come chat with me tonight, tomorrow. I'll be in the booth. I'm just going to be eating snacks and drinking coffee and sending emails. And so whenever you want to come in there and just have a chat with me, come in, turn on your camera. I can see what you're dealing with. I can answer questions. You can show me whatever you want to show me, and we can chat. And I am uber excited to see everyone. This is such a fun show because I really missed it. So thank you guys. I am going to hop out and turn the stage area over back to the Prego Expo. So you guys should just come chat with me, and I'm going to go back to my booth. Okay? See you guys.